everyone, and welcome back to another magical episode of the Why We Disney podcast. I know I, as a new DVC member, am super excited about this show. If you can tell by the title, we are talking about everything DVC, Disney Vacation Club. We have our DVC expert of the podcast here, Sam, to tell us all about it. So let's get into the episode so you can write down all the details.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Why We Disney podcast. My name is Kaycee and I'm your co-host today. And I also have my amazing co-host Kara with me as always.
Hi.
And today we have a really special guest, but she's also one of the amazing team members of the Why We Disney podcast, and she's our expert DVC member. So if you've ever heard of DVC before, it's the Disney Vacation Club. You guys, we're about to take like a crazy deep dive into what it is, how you do it, all of the details with that. So Sam, I'm so excited to have you. How are you? How's your day going?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me and for calling me a DVC expert. I will try my best to lead everybody through this crash course and hopefully we get some new members.
Yay.
I love it. I love it. Definitely a crash course for sure. So now I love your Instagram so much and I want to plug this really quick. So Sam has an incredible Instagram, not only because she's incredible, but it's crazy educational. So if you've ever wondered like little DVC facts as you go along, like Samantha is your girl to follow to get, those nitpicks and tips and tricks with that. She's incredible. So Sam, I want you to kind of remind everybody where they can follow you. Obviously, all of our regular listeners already do, but if they're a new listener, where can they follow you on Instagram?
So you can follow me at DVC Millennial. So like Kaycee said, I try to make my profile fun, but also educational. So I do a lot of reels about DVC and breaking down the questions that I get from people all the time about how it works. But I use a lot of trending audio, so I try to make it fun.
Yes. Love it. And I'm glad you did it. And I'm going to say like this is no joke. Sam's Instagram was a huge push to make me buy DVC. Cause I was like, it can't be that hard. It can't I understand it. I get it. Home resort, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Sign me up. So I'm really glad that you just became a part of the team and now you get to educate the rest of our audience.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So I think we should start off, Disney realm. We have a lot of different people in the Disney community, some newbies, some very trained Disney professionals, but even though you may go to the parks all the time, you might not know what DVC or Disney Vacation Club is. So could you give us your DVC definition? What is Disney Vacation Club?
So I got this definition from a very reliable resource, Wikipedia, but it does pretty much sum up what Disney Vacation Club is. So DVC is a vacation timeshare program owned and operated by Disney Vacation Development, which is a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. So it allows its members to buy a real estate interest in a DVC resort via a flexible point membership program. So what does that mean? So the real estate interest part is that members who buy into DVC are purchasing a little piece of a certain Disney Vacation Club resort. So I own at Old Key West, and I believe I own 0.0008% of Old Key West. So it's flexible. So members aren't held to a specific week to travel. So usually with timeshares, you travel the same week every single year to the same place, but DVC doesn't do that. So we can travel whenever we like, however long we want to stay, and book at whatever resort is open. So it's also point-based. So instead of booking with cash, which is what most people who travel to Walt Disney World and Disneyland use, we use points.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I was going to say it's just a lot right off the bat, because people that don't travel, I haven't really gone anywhere until 2019 when I started going to Disney. And so even the thought of what is a timeshare? I didn't know what that was 2 years ago. So it's nice to know there's all these different options, and Disney has so many resorts with their timeshares.
Yeah, so DVC has a lot of different resorts. The bulk of them are at Walt Disney World. So I will now rattle them off to you. So there's Animal Kingdom Lodge, which has two sides, Jambo House and Kidani Village. Kidani Village is entirely DVC, and Jambo House, there's two floors that are DVC. There's also Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary, the Beach Club Villas, Boardwalk Villas, Boulder Ridge Villas, which are at Wilderness Lodge, and they also share space with Copper Creek Villas. Then there's Old Key West, Polynesian Villas and Bungalows, the newly built Riviera, Saratoga Springs, and then there are villas at the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. Out at Disneyland, right now there's just the villas at Disney's Grand Californian, which is part of the regular resort building. There's just DVC villas in there, but they are building a hotel tower at the Disneyland Hotel, and that will be all DVC units. So hopefully in the next couple of years, that'll go online. And then there's also a couple beach resorts, so resorts that aren't attached to any specific theme park. So there's Alani, which is in Ko Olina, Hawaii. There's Hilton Head in South Carolina, and then Vero Beach is on the opposite coast of Florida.
Wow. So many. Like
so many.
And you said it earlier, Sam, and I really love it. So Disney Vacation Club is the most flexible timeshare. So like you just rattled off a whole list of DVC resorts. Like you can stay at those with the points that you purchase, right?
Yep. As long as there's room
you're
open,
not
I can stay.
designated to your home resort in any way.
Nope.
Well, so how exactly, Sam, do you become a DVC member? So if someone listens to this podcast and they're like, wow, I'm super interested, I'd like to look into like becoming a DVC member, like what would be step one for them? Kind of go through that for them.
So there's two different ways that people can become DVC members. So there is buying direct, which is buying your points from Disney, or there's buying resale, which is buying your points from a third party company. So I'll go into the direct one first, just because it's kind of the easiest to explain. So if you want to become a member directly through Disney, what you can do is you can schedule a phone tour, or I believe they're doing in-person tours now, but they're very limited. So if you're at Walt Disney World or Disneyland, you can meet with a Disney Vacation Club guide. And what they'll do is they'll walk you through the entire part of being a member. So you'll learn all about how points work, what your use here is, what resorts are available for sale, all different things like that. And they're really great with answering questions, and no question is a stupid question. So if you have them, that's your time to ask. What they'll do, which I really loved when I became a member, was my guide asked me, what's your budget? How much do you want to spend on this contract? How do you like to vacation in Disney? Where do you like to stay? How long do you stay? Who do you travel with? And they really try to build a contract that fits your needs specifically. So you're not just buying something that, you know, like any other Disney fan would buy. Like it's something that's really customized to you. And they make the process super simple. Like it's almost too easy to buy in through Disney. I had my phone meeting the day before Valentine's Day in 2018 because I couldn't travel to go do the tour. So I did it over the phone. I had my points the next morning. Like it was super fast. And through Disney, you can also finance. So if you don't have all the money for your contract up front, they do offer financing. So your dues and your loan, if you take one out, can come out on the same day, or they can come out on different days. They make it super simple. And then there's also purchasing through resale, which a lot of members do choose to do. Some members that are adding on prefer to do resale because there is a pretty big savings cost-wise. So this is usually done through a company that's not owned by DVC or Disney Vacation Development. So a couple are DVC Resale Market, DVC Shop, and the DVC Store are kind of like the big ones in the industry. So what happens here is if I'm a member who, you know, I've gotten my use out of my membership, maybe I don't really want to travel to Disney anymore and I just want to sell my contract, I can list it with these companies, and people who are looking to buy can look through their website, find my contract, and make an offer. So if the seller accepts that offer, what happens is the contract goes to Disney for right of first refusal. So this is kind of DVC's way of maintaining the timeshare's value. So if they feel that the person who's buying the contract maybe offered a number that's a little too low, Disney will buy the contract back. So if you ever go on a DVC board and people are like, oh my gosh, I'm in right of first refusal, like, are they going to take it away? Like, that's that anxiety. But if Disney decides they don't want the contract, or they feel like the price that it's being sold at is reasonable, they will release it to the person who's buying it. So this whole process is a little stressful for people because you're not getting your points as quickly as if you purchased it directly from Disney. And there's also the possibility that you won't get the contract, that Disney will buy it back. And before COVID, they had 30 days to decide if they were going to buy your contract back or not. And you would see people waiting the whole 30 days. So it's a little stressful. And because
Sarah, did you wait the full 30?
I think I'm looking at I actually just pulled up, because you were talking about resale. I have like written down all the dates that had to deal with me and this contract. And I think it was a full 30, but no, actually it wasn't. It was about 2.5 weeks. But I gave the offer on September 3rd, and my contract closed October 19th. So it was about a month and a half, start to finish, when Sam's was a day. My process was a month and a half. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. And that's pretty typical of how it usually works. Because of COVID, they have had to lay off some of their staff at Disney Vacation Club, unfortunately. So sometimes right of first refusal has taken a little bit longer, or people's points getting loaded into their membership has been taking a little bit longer. But it's a great way to become a member or add on points as a member at a very low cost. Because usually the people who are selling their contracts are just selling it for either what they bought it for or just a little bit higher. So you're not paying the money you would pay if you were going through Disney. So a lot of people tend to go this route. I think that's all I wanted to say about resale.
Yeah, that's the difference. Just so our listeners and viewers know. So Sam, your original Old Key West is a direct contract.
Yes.
And I did resale, specifically DVC Resale Market, that company, through resale, and my home resort is Saratoga Springs. So for those of you that are coming up with questions for direct, I mean, I'll answer as much as I can. Sam's really the expert, but I did go through the resale process with my Saratoga contract, and it is a lot different. I don't, what's the word? I don't regret it, because I was doing the towel rigging method. I wanted to get the most amount of points with the least amount of money, right? That was we can get into that later, but that's really what I wanted out of my contract. So it's nice to see the difference in comparison.
So one more thing that I will say about resale, just because I think it's important for people to know this, because there are some pros and cons of going through resale. And Kara, I know me and you kind of talked about this at length because you were just so curious about, like, how do I join in and how do I get all these points? So the pros of resale, like I said before, you save a lot of money because you're not going through Disney, you're going through someone who's owned before. Competitive financing. So Disney Vacation Club does offer financing, but their interest rate might be a lot higher than you might get through a bank, or if you took out a home equity loan or something similar. So people can finance their contracts in ways that are a little bit more affordable. There's flexibility to choose your home resort, your use year, how many points you want, because you are just buying someone else's contract, and there's a lot of variety out there. The cons, most of these, I don't believe are great point values anyway, just because you're not really getting your money's worth for the exchange. But resale members cannot use their points to book Disney cruises, Adventures by Disney, Disney Collection, which is the other Disney resorts that are not owned by DVC, the Concierge Collection, which used to be through RCI Exchange, which is another timeshare company. We just moved to Interval International on January 1st. So those are hotels that are located around the world. And if you're a Resale member, you're not allowed to use your points to book those. Resale members, although this is it kind of depends on the cast member you get, are not entitled to discounts on shopping and dining. Sometimes Resale members get it, sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends on where you're at. They don't have access to member exclusive events. So pre-COVID, and hopefully they will bring it back, we used to have events called Moonlight Magic, and they were after hours events for DVC members. You didn't have to pay to go, but you would have to kind of enter a lottery system to get picked to go. I did one at Epcot in 2018, and it was awesome. It was like 2 hours, the park totally to ourselves. We walked on Soarin' like 5 times. It was great. So if you want to be Resale, just know that you might not be able to go to those events. You are not able to use your points at Riviera or any new Disney Vacation Club resort. So this is something that was added in when Riviera started to be sold, and a lot of members had an issue with this because it essentially cuts a lot of members off from booking Riviera and newer resorts. Another thing that was written into Riviera's contract was Resale Riviera contracts cannot book anywhere but the Riviera. So if Kara decided instead of buying into Saratoga that she wanted to buy into Riviera Resale, all of her points would only be able to be used at Riviera. She couldn't book at Saratoga or Old Key West or Grand Floridian or anywhere else. So in the beginning, that was a very big point of contention for people because we kind of like to go into DVC knowing that our contract has value and we could sell it later if we had to. And a lot of members felt like putting those restrictions on Riviera really limited the value of the contract if you had to sell it. But what we've been seeing for like the last couple of years, especially as people have started to list their Riviera contracts on Resale, is people will buy them because they want to stay at Riviera and they don't really mind. They can't stay anywhere else. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues or maybe DVC reconsiders it. But yep, those are your restrictions.
And it's like being a Resale member, I will say all of those restrictions are, what do they say in the asterisks, like subject to change or yes. Blah, blah, blah. They could bring any of that back at any time if they really wanted to. I could sell 50 of my points to get the cash to book Riviera. There are definitely ways to get around it and do these things. It's not like I could never stay at Riviera now. There's so many different pros and cons to being direct and Resale and blah, blah, blah. I was doing the towel stringing method of getting the most points. But that's because I know that I want to vacation specifically at Disney for years to come. And so that's the goal, but there's so much more. And that is just like the first 2 questions, right? What is it? And how do you become a member? And look at all that, mind blown. I know, like Kaycee, you're probably sitting here like me. I remember when I started looking into this, I was like, points, timeshare, use here, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like scrolling through Sam's profile and like trying to learn. But I know, like, how are you confused at all? I guess is my question.
So the only reason why I am not confused, seriously, is because I follow Sam on social media and I have rented DVC points before. So I'm not a DVC member. I've not bought into any resort, but so that's my only association with it. So no, I'm not completely lost. Luckily, I have friends like you two who are able to answer my questions as I go through, but I'm not DVC illiterate, right? But Kara, you said it a second ago too, like there's so much more to talk about. Like I'm sure you guys are wondering about cost and about what the heck is in the contract exactly. Well, we're going to get into all of that, but right now we're just going to take a quick ad break and we will be right back. But stay with us and stay tuned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. I know that I have my pen and notepad next to me because Sam, you just gave us all the details. I mean, wow, like I still need to decompress about everything that was going on. Let's just even talk about that list for a second. Just listing all the DVC resorts, like think of the possibilities of vacationing. It's amazing. But I know that it was a lot of information for everyone, and DVC is both a visual thing. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, hop on over, subscribe to our channel because we are about to do a little DVC show and tell.
Yay!
Yay.
Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
All right. So since I became a direct member, these are the things that you get if you join direct. I know Kara will speak to resale a little bit later. So when I bought my original contract, I got this little box and it's my welcome home kit. So it has a DVC magnet for your car. They give you two. One is already on my car. This is my backup. And then they give you these little booklets that just explain like how your membership works and the different things that you can use your points for. The sort of not so fun things that also came in this box are these two little booklets. So this is your multi-site public offering statement. DVC legally has to send you these. And it basically breaks down all the definitions of your timeshare contract so that basically anybody could read it. Truthfully, I have not opened either one of them. And then the more fun things. So when I bought my original 150 points at Old Key West, I got this little tote bag with Mickey and it says DVC member. And then a couple months later, I added on 25 more points because I stayed at the Polynesian as my first visit and I have no self-control. So I got a black tote. So now if you join direct, they're doing a backpack, which probably would have been a little more useful for me because I don't tend to use tote bags. But it's like a navy and gray backpack. It has the same Mickey on it that I have on my bags. You've probably seen it in the parks. But if you buy direct, that is your little freebie that you get.
Yeah.
So Kara, tell us about when you buy resale.
Well, I will talk about, again, the company that I went through is DVC Resale Market, and they have an app. Actually, fun fact, because I miss fast passes. And do you guys remember the days where you can go on, this was 50 days before your trip and you could go on and switcheroo and change the times. Well, the resale market app is kind of like that. Like you can filter your resort and the amount of points and your use year, blah, blah, blah. So it was a lot of fun to use DVC Resale Market. But when I did get my contract, they sent me this nice little backpack, DVC Resale, and it's actually like nice, high quality. It's not like a cheap one. And of course, they sent me all the boring stuff, like all the paperwork and blah, blah, blah. But this was something that I got directly from DVC Resale Market. So thanks guys for sending that on over.
I love it so much. And I feel like you will definitely make use of that in the parks. Because how cool is it to like walk around with your DVC stuff and be like, yes, I own a timeshare. Actually, I own a portion of Old Key West in Disney or Saratoga Springs. Like, how cool is that?
I will say the older I get, the more bougie I get, which is like another reason that like DVC was like, oh yeah, for me. Now the first merch I got, and I should have brought it, I didn't even open it yet, is the DVC Magic Band. Now this was before they announced Magic Band Plus, so who even knows how long we have to use these things, but it is the DVC Magic Band with, I think, the same symbol that Sam's wearing.
Yep.
Little sweater on. Yep, that little DVC symbol on. So I'm excited to take my welcome home trip. I think that's what it's called. Your first trip as a DVC member. I'm still learning the lingo. I'm not including my Disneyland trip as my welcome home trip because that's Disneyland and not my resort. But my welcome home trip will be in April, where I will lose my bank account on all the DVC merch that I plan on buying. So stay tuned.
Is it weird to not be DVC but own a DVC mug? Because I'm pretty sure that I own a DVC mug.
Nah, you might just get If someone if a member just sees you out and about though, they might ask you oh, where's your home resort? Or oh, where's your home? So just be ready with an answer. Because even though DVC is so great, there's not a ton of merch that Disney has made for DVC. So we all kind of know what's out there and what it looks like. So someone will zero in on if you're wearing DVC stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. No doubt.
I don't know about you, Sam, but I've noticed some of our seasoned members, I'm talking about the members that joined the 80s, the 90s, whatever, how old these contracts were, looking at them at listening to their podcasts and things now and the way they talk about DVC, it's still Disney's best kept secret to them. So it's still the super exclusive, how dare you have a DVC sweatshirt on if you're not DVC, I don't care, rock it. It's Disney merch regardless. But I will say that has changed over the years. I think newer millennial DVC millennials like us are just kind of relaxed, but it's definitely changed over the years.
Definitely. And it's not because of social media and because so many members now are younger, our age, it's not a secret anymore. It used to be if you didn't know someone who was in DVC, you didn't know about it. Right. But their marketing has really changed. And then just people like us who are Kaycee running points or me buying in when I did, people know about it. It's out there. Hey, YB Disney fam. So that is it for part 1 of our Disney Vacation Club episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast so that you don't miss when we drop part 2. Thanks and have a magical day.